Hey black child, do you know who you are? Who you really are? Do you know you can be what you want to be if you try to be what you can be? Hey black child, do you know where you're going? Where you're really going? Do you know you can learn what you want to learn, what you can learn?
Resiliency is the ability to bounce back. But how can you bounce back when you don't know where you're bouncing from? In order to know where you're going, you have to know where you've been. I can't even know me if I don't know what came before me. The trauma of the black community goes all the way back to when we were enslaved.
All of us are product of slavery, so we've been through it. You know what I'm saying? This trauma that causes the high blood pressure, the mental health issues, like all of these stem from the trauma from slavery.
For example, what goes on in the house stays in the house. That came from the time when we were enslaved and we had to be taught to read by those who were in the home. So Master could know that we knew how to read. So what goes on in the house stays in the house so no one else could find out and we weren't put in danger. Today, that frame of thinking is really dangerous because there's so many traumas that go on in the house, from neglect to abuse. So having that mindset of what goes on in the house stays in the house is now very dangerous.
I did a lot of stuff because I didn't feel protected at home. I didn't feel loved at home. I didn't feel the nature that I needed and the comfort that I needed at home. It was always arguments. It was always fighting. My parents, they was always drinking. You know, it was constant stuff that would just push me away slowly, and I didn't know that I was going off the edge.
Boys don't cry is a very big one that has been passed down from generation to generation. Back in the days of enslavement, you could not show your weaknesses. You could watch your father or your mother get raped. You can watch your father get hung. You could watch your father get tarred and burned. And you could not cry. You weren't allowed to cry because if you show weakness as a little boy, then you could be the next one. Boys don't cry. It was only to keep the family safe and together. Being enslaved, watching daddy get beat, burnt, raped, little boy watching George Floyd get killed on TV in the 2000s, 2020s. Imagine how black boys felt watching that, scared, wanting to cry, but then we're telling them, boys don't cry. You can't cry about that.
I feel scared of the police, really, a lot. Well, I love being black. I love it. I absolutely love it. But some things about being black that I hate.
Now what I have to teach you is what to do when you do get stopped by police.
Second grade, I think, is whenever I first lost someone really important to me. It was my big brother, Dondre. He passed away in a shooting. I was sad, I was hurt, but I just didn't cry. And I didn't know why.
The more you tell young boys that they are not allowed to cry, the less access they have to their true emotions. Because if they can't cry, they got to do something with that. So they start suppressing all those things that hurt them. They start suppressing all those things that they want to cry about. They can get punched in the face at 6 years old and they've been told to man up, so they gotta suppress that. Sooner or later, if you suppress so many feelings and emotions, you are bound to pop. You suppressing all those emotions and not learning how to deal with your emotions, eventually you're gonna pop and it's gonna look like anger, rage, it's gonna look like ill temperament. It's gonna look like all those things that have these negative connotations to them, these negative stigmas and labels to them, and then that becomes the danger. During the period of enslavement, the mothers of the children had to downplay their size, their strength, their intelligence, so that they wouldn't be separated for the family, sent further out into the fields, or just sold off or taken into the house. So if there was a strong, young 12-year-old who was gifted and who could speak, and the mother was walking with the 12-year-old, and someone would say, wow, your son is so strong and he speaks so well. And the mother would say, no, he's really just stupid. He's really not that strong, and he's very clumsy. She would say anything to downplay the gifts, the talents, and all the things that the child brings to protect the child from being taken from the family. But now it's such a dangerous way of thinking, because if my 10-year-old son is big, strong, and intelligent, and someone says, wow, your son is very big and very strong and so intelligent, and I say, oh, no, he's just acting like that, then I have to understand the effect it could have on my child now for the long run, because now my son could start thinking, am I really not talented? Am I not gifted? Am I stupid? That's the effect that that way of thinking can have on our children. It's that cycle. So how do we get to the point of breaking that cycle and leaving these abnormal cultural sayings, these cultural beliefs out of it? My trauma is a part of my generational trauma story, because it's wrapped into the same things that were passed down from generation to generation to generation. If we didn't believe in what goes on in this house stays in this house way of thinking, then when I was molested at 8 years old and was told not to talk about it, when I was told to man up about it and don't worry about it anymore, that was a part of me suppressing my emotions. I couldn't talk about it anymore. And, it didn't erase what happened, not for me. It didn't erase what happened for me, so I suppressed that. And as soon as I suppressed it at 8 years old, I think that's when I first started going through depression. At 8 years old, I can't remember a lot of happy times. I remember seeing my first murder, saw the gunshot, saw somebody's head get blown off. I remember the silver gun. I remember him coming up on the porch, putting the silver gun in my mouth. I remember him talking. I remember him saying he'll kill my mama, my brothers, my sisters. But I remember the sizzling of the gun in my mouth. I remember the burn cells in my mouth, and I remember not saying anything I never told. Because of my trauma, I was addicted to drugs, and I was arrested multiple times. I wanted to know, what was wrong with me. And that's the question that I kept asking. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I finally learned it's not what's wrong with me, it's what happened to me. So once I became aware of the trauma, then my behavior started to change. The biggest thing was learning new coping mechanisms, coping skills, and really learning resiliency tools. The work that we're doing with the youth in our community, I wish I would have had that when I was growing up.
I look at the rate of teen suicide right now. Where does that stem from? Right? We gotta really take the time to look back and where does that stem from? That stems from them not feeling safe, not being able to open up and tell you what's going on, feeling like they gotta bottle everything up. This right here is showing kids how to let it come out in another way. Showing kids that you don't have to stuff it all in the bottle. You can let it out now, and giving them a safe enough space to let that out.
Giving our young people this opportunity to heal early, they get an opportunity to learn to process their emotions.
Having that sense of comfort with my peers, and then getting to talk and just getting to let all that stuff out, which is called unpacking. Getting to let all that stuff out and just feeling like you get the world off your shoulders and you can just let them down and breathe. It gave me a light feeling, it gave me a sense of peace, and it gave me a sense of comfortness, and just everything was gonna be okay once I got it all out.
It's not just the trauma that's passed down, but it's the resiliency that's passed down as well.
We can heal this, we can fix this, we can reverse this wheel, we can turn it around. And I'm a living, walking proof of that. When I look at my daughters, they are living, walking proof of that. The seed to be able to talk with my child about things that go on in our household and things that she's seen, and her be able to open up and talk about it, like, that's something we didn't get the luxury of as kids.
I just feel great learning about his history and my history. It gives me a sense of hope so I can break those patterns.
They're helping the younger black generation stay out of the streets and stay in a classroom. Anybody that doesn't think they have a future, thinks they have to gang bang, drug deal, all of that to succeed in life, they don't have to.
Coping mechanisms can be running, walking, talking, playing a sport that you love. There's always healthy ways to cope, such as breathing, exercising, stuff like that, talking to others.
Yeah, I do think it's okay for boys to cry. I mean, as usual. Like, I see men cry all the time.
All that anger and aggression was built up from, it was really hiding a child that really just wanted somebody to love her and comfort her and just tell her it was gonna be okay and just to guide her in the right direction.
Your generational curses get passed on. It's on you to step in and start trying to reprogram it. It's on you to step in and bring light to things that have occurred that will, if, like I say, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
I hope for the younger generation, people who will run the world basically after me and stuff like that, will be able to come together and actually be healthy, you know?
That's what generations is about. It's about the next generation having a better opportunity than the former generation.
And I'm so thankful for Mr. Hayes for teaching me all of these new skills and teaching me about this generation past trauma, that I can see similar things that me and my mom do or similar things that my mom does that her mom did is passed down through generations. And I'm here today to tell you I know about the trauma and I know how it can get, so I'm here to stop it and put it into the cycle for my kids.
Humans are designed to be like a tribe and talk to each other about stuff like that, you know? So that's how I try and do it, you know? And if it doesn't help, it doesn't help, but I'm always still here if you need to talk, you know?
Resiliency is the ability to bounce back. The ability to bounce back, and I love it because now we're starting to learn what we're bouncing back from and where we're bouncing back from.
I am a first-hand experience of what trauma looks like and what healing looks like. That's what them tears are. You get to see me cleanse, and I don't mind giving that to y'all.
Hey, black child. Do you know you are strong? I mean really strong. Do you know you can do what you want to do if you try to do what you can do? Hey, black child. Be what you can do. Learn what you must learn. Do what you can do. And tomorrow, your nation will be what you want it to be.
You Mojo, what up? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Mr. Hay, what it do? Yeah, yeah, whoa. I want some hope for the future. You already know it. We healing, baby, let's go. Woke up embarrassed, went to sleep broke. Woke up again, chasing some hope. You tried to laugh, I seen you before. Trauma is real, it's not a joke. Slitting my wrist, cutting my throat. Grabbing a bottle, driving a boat. Grabbing a pen, suicide note. Living a dream that I can't promote. Some things you can't dodge, you end up becoming a challenger. Sometimes you get heated and now you gotta use a thermometer. If you keep running from your problems, then your feet will start to get tighter. Say this drama for your mama, say it's trauma for dishonor. This keep happening back to back. I need some hope and that's just that. You cannot see me cataract. I keep it real, but facts is fact. Now I'm trying to go heal. That mean I'm handling business. Now it's time to just spill. Let loose all of your feelings. I'm in the process of healing. I've been unpacking my feelings. I've been through trauma alone. Nobody feel what I'm feeling. And they gon' act like you wrong, knowing some of this stuff I can't do it. And they expect you to hold on, knowing sometimes I'll be slipping. You mojo, hope. Your trauma, cope. Your past, nope. Your future, dope. We healing our past experiences. We healing our past experiences. We healing our past experiences. Now come and join if you serious. Grand rising, kings and queens. Your skin color is beautiful. And my future is now. But my past still knew you. I ain't got no time to talk about nothing that I used to do. Plus I make the whole world go round. I got hope for the hula hoop. Big dog go cray-cray. And I ball like LA. I want it all like payday. And I slap smile like a playdate. This trauma on me is existing. Get up off of me, I'm resisting. I've been wrestling all my problems, I'm on the edge like Christian. Practice do not make perfect. Perfect practice make perfect. Do it like no one's watching. You ain't gotta be nervous. If I hold you accountable, make sure my hands ain't dirty. And if you hold me at all, make sure your hands steady. I'm in the process of healing. I've been unpacking my feelings. I've been through trauma alone. Nobody feel what I'm feeling. And they gon' act like you wrong, knowing some of this stuff I can't do it. And they expect you to hold on, knowing sometimes I be slipping. You mojo, hope. Your trauma, cope. Your past, nope. Your future, dope. We healing our past experiences. We healing our past experiences. We healing our past experiences. Now come and join if you serious. Hey, what you tell? We want some more for the future. We want some more for the future. We want some more for the future. Come and let me introduce you
To a new way of you thinking you in this alone, you wrong. Used to think I could do it myself, really I needed help all alone. Bottle my feelings and pour out my sorrow, sip all my pain out of cup. By the bottom I'm numb for the moment, by the more I feel it back up. Depression kick in and I shut down, build up anger, you might get your cuss out. My emotions I wear on my sleeve at the slightest offense, I was ready to dumb out. Figured out that was tied to my traumas, my reaction was trauma responsive. Got to know them and realize the triggers I got from my pops, so I look like my mama. So I had to change some things in order to change myself. Switch lanes, change the game, all the stressing was bad for my health. That's mental, emotional, physical. I had to tap into my spiritual. Learn to let go and let God. When Jesus take the wheel, that's who's steering you. And the road less traveled is harder, but I promise you'll get a lot.